Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to the Diaspora Panel. This is the Diaspora Panel, the voice of the diaspora, where we discuss Nigerian politics and international politics. I have with me, as always, I have Mr. Ademola Adisa, who is based in the United Kingdom. Mr. Adisa, you are welcome to today's meeting.
Oh, it's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
I have also Mr. Odalawa, who is based in Canada. Mr. Lawat, you are also welcome.
Thank you for having me.
My name is Dejiola, and I'm based in Dublin, the Republic of Ireland. Before we go into the meat of this program, I just want to thank all our viewers, all those new people who subscribed in the last 1 week. And in the last one month, we've had about 20 to 30 new subscribers, and we want to welcome you to the Diaspora Panel. Please, if you're one of the people who have been viewing our videos, you have not subscribed, please click that button right now so that when we do the next video, you'll be one of the first people to know about it. Subscription is free of charge. You are not charged for it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to discuss what we call the Nigerian Naira War. In the last few months, we heard the central bank governor, Emefiele, I think Governor Emefiele, yes, that's his name. He told Nigerians that there's going to be a change in the currency. The currency is going to be like a kind of renewal for the currency, which is a very good policy, which is this is what has been done in every other part of the world, every 10 years, currency is changed. We remove the old note, bring out the new notes. And what has happened now is that this has caused a lot of problem in Nigeria because about 2.8 trillion naira got to be withdrawn from circulation, but the central bank only printed about 300 billion. And this has caused a lot of people. People are not able to get the new notes. People are, in fact, what is happening now is that people are sleeping in banks. People are stripping themselves naked in banks. There's a lot of war going on. And even when you are able to get the new notes, you have to pay an extra to get new notes. So let me come over to you, Demola, first of all. The policy, you are an economist, which is very good. So, I mean, this question is for you. When a country changes their currency, why are the reason why countries change currency? Demola.
Oh, thank you, Deji. There are a lot of there's some strategic reasons why the currencies are being changed at a regular interval. Part of it is to prevent fraud, especially with fake currency going along with the good ones. Because definitely with any currency, there's always a tendency to have fake currency being printed by dubious people. And one of the reasons why you have to change this is to make it difficult for them to sustain it over a long time. And the other thing may be in controlling of the flow of money in circulation, especially when there are too much money out of the banking system. Part of the way of retrieving and returning them to the banking system is to retrieve them by changing the money. Then you control the outflow of it. This is a good thing because it's only as much, it depends on the percentage of liquidation that the banks have that usually encourage the bank to transact and to give credit to its customer. So it's the more the bank has in the money that the bank, currency that the bank have in the bank, the more they can give out as loan for businesses and for other ventures. So there are other motives which we should not cannot go on too much for this, but these are the two basic reasons why money currencies have usually been restructured or reprinted or change in one form or the other, especially even they may retain the same thing, but they may change its security apparatus or devices inside the currency to make it very difficult for fraudulence. Also, one part of it is to be able to trace the flow of money, where this money goes to. So they have a tracking device in a way that even when money is being given out, they can actually know where those such money were located, were sent to, and this they will be able to track and correct criminal activities. So there are laudable reasons why this is done, and in all reputable banking countries, this is a norm. It's a normal thing to do.
Okay.
To be honest, usually it's done within the next 6 or 7 years, every 6 or 7 years, and at most in every decade. But you need to really change this for you to be able to control the flow of money.
Thank you, Demola. Thank you. Shupo, one of the reasons that the central bank governor adduced for doing this is, first of all, to check criminality, all these kidnappers, all these bandits who are demanding ransom. But we found out that the money found their way into the forest to actually showing them in piles. So do you think this policy has succeeded, or has it failed?
Well, I think it's a bit early to say whether it has succeeded or failed. I think, maybe, let's see a couple more weeks, a couple more months. I think we'll have a much better picture. But I think if we look at the implementation of the policy, and quite honestly, I do agree with Mr. Adisa for the things that he said. I think generally it is a good policy. I mean, when a society operates largely on cash, it is very difficult to trace transactions that pertains to criminal activity or any form of terrorism. So transactions have to be a lot more electronic, to be able to monitor transactions, to be able to monitor individuals, and to be able to detect these types of things. However, I think even the 3 months that was given, quite honestly, I think is sufficient enough. If enough cash was printed, if it was delivered to the appropriate financial institutions, and if measures were put in place to ensure that the money made it to the hands of the average people, I think we can blame the central bank for not implementing this correctly. But I also want to draw attention to Nigerians. The central bank is not the ones working in each of these banks. These banks have bank managers. They have ordinary Nigerians who work there. I think Nigerians, unfortunately, have an attitude of trying to cash in at every opportunity, even to the detriment of their fellow citizens. How can we explain, for example, situations where people were waiting to collect, to exchange their money, they weren't given, but the bank had loads of cash in the vault? Why was that kept? That is not the CBN. That is something that bank managers and rank and file officers, decisions that bank managers and rank and file officers. So I think we can blame the CBN, and probably the CBN is going to be the whipping horse for this. But average Nigerians themselves don't seem to have done everything within their power to alleviate the burden and the impact on their fellow citizens. How can cash make it into the hands of terrorists? I mean, let's be honest. Part of why this thing was done, I believe, was to largely eliminate or at least trace people. Because, I mean, if you're bringing a huge load of cash to the bank to change, they will change it for you. But then over a period of time, if the government was actually serious about this, you can actually start looking at how much money people are bringing and start asking questions. What business are you doing? How did you come about this amount of cash?
Thank you.
I think to be fair, you know, has the CBN done everything within this power? Probably not. But I will not call the CBN out only. I will call other, the banks, the rank and file who are working at these banks for trying to cash in.
Thank you.
To the detriment of their fellow citizens.
Thank you very much, Shukro. So we're going to welcome our Mr. Ola Adedigba, who is just joining us from the United States of America. Mr. Adedigba, you are welcome to the meeting.
Yes. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. So we've been talking about the Naira War in Nigeria, the Naira situation. So so I'm just going over to Mr. Adedigba right now. So, Demola, based on what you have just said, now one of the main reasons why the central bank instituted, adheres for this Naira policy is that there was so much money. Please, can we mute ourselves, please? Can we mute? He said there was so much money outside of circulation and that they want this money back. And the insinuation is that if you are bringing money, 1 billion or 2 billion money, big money, we will ask you where you get this money from. Now, the last time I checked, the central bank governor is saying that right now they've been able to get back about 2 trillion or 2 point something trillion. But Demola, nobody has been caught. If people are bringing in billions and billions, what is their name? Who are these people? Nobody has nothing in that regard. Nothing has been done. So do you think that the central bank has failed in that regard? If people can just bring their money to the bank, they can bring billions to the bank, and nobody is writing down their name, nobody is questioning them. As the CBN failed in that regard?
To be honest, I don't think that is the focus of CBN now, because CBN has a lot of issue in its hand and to analyze who is bringing this money. The CBN, either you get it illegally or not, they want all this money in. And as long as this one in, the problem is after they have finished all this exercise, then they can look into that. So it's not an urgent issue for them to look at now. The basic thing now is how is this policies being effective? How is it going? To be honest, in as much as I would love to agree with Ola regarding CBN not having much hand in this, I put most of this blame on CBN. 3 months will have been so good if CBN has a good plan. For the most part of that CBN, the chief CBN governor was not even anywhere to be found. He was not even there. He was not on his post to manage and supervise these activities. He went on holiday. You have a very big policy and you say you went on holiday. Is that the right time to have such an holiday? So it's not that, to be honest, this problem, if they have tackled it head on right from the beginning and sincerely implement and manage it, we won't be where we are in 3 months. So CBN has the greater blame on this. And I'm really, as good as the policy is, when the policy come, I really gave them kudos because we emphasized at that time, this is a very bold policy. It's a very difficult policy because we know what Nigeria is like. And but are they sincere? Or are they really sincere in this policy? Did they really put this policy for it to fail? Because if they are really thinking about the good effect of this policy, this implementation will not be like this.
Okay.
Blaming the banks is not an excuse for CBN. CBN has control over the bank. If they have been doing due diligence and monitoring and overseeing of these banks, all these things will have been detected the first week of the implementation of the policies.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So,
thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Are you finished, Demola?
Yeah, you can go on.
Yeah, okay. So, Shupo, based on that question that the brothers have just answered, what really struck me is something you mentioned. The CBN said they printed 300 billion and distributed this to the banks. But what has happened here is that all these governors, all these money bags who have kept their money, what they did was that they just went straight to just called the bank managers, went to the bank and exchanged their money. So the money disappeared. So that's why I'm saying that does the CBN, should they not have a kind of measurement, to know, okay, we gave you 250 million. How many customers did you? Somebody said they went to the bank and they were only able to collect 5,000. Some people are being given 1,000. So should the central bank not put something in place to be able to monitor this exercise instead of creating a problem?
Thank you very much. And the short answer to that is they should. I actually quite agree with Mr. Ademola Adisa that probably a bigger portion of the blame lies on the CBN. But let's also be clear. The CBN is not responsible for that last portion of that policy, which is to interface with citizens, business people, companies to exchange their money. And I'd like to draw attention to a couple of things. One of the reports that I personally heard about was that in some banks where they were changing money, in accordance with the new policy, there is a limit to the amount of cash that people can be given. So what some of these banks were doing, and this was some of the bank staff, was that if you want to collect, for example, 1 million naira, they will give you 900,000, but record that you've taken 1 million. Where's the remaining 100,000 going? Into their own pocket. So it's as if Nigerians always look for opportunities to make money, even if it is to the detriment of their own fellow citizens. So let's not make any mistake. There's a lot of blame to go to the CBN, because I believe that the CBN should have also put measures in place to actually monitor financial institutions to ensure that they are executing this policy in adherence to what they're supposed to be doing. I know there were videos that surfaced of the CBN sending monitors to certain financial institutions, but even the way that was done was very bad. I mean, they absolutely violated the privacy of some of the bank staff, and they were showing their faces, which led to some bank officials even being almost lynched. So there's a lot of blame, and I think a lot of it goes to the CBN, but we must, as a people, also put blame where our own citizens are also making matters worse. And I think a lot of the bank staff try to cash in and capitalize on this exchange to enrich themselves at to the detriment of their fellow citizens.
All right. Thank you very much, Shupo. Lighton, can you unmute, please? Right. So, yeah. Lighton, I just want to ask you generally, what is your view about this Naira swap policy so far? What is your opinion about? Has it succeeded? Has it failed? What are you seeing? What are you looking at in Nigeria?
Yeah, the Naira printing change is something that is targeted towards some guys, right? It has a good intention, right? Because they want to absorb all the money in circulation. They want to have all the money in circulation. They want to account for all the money in circulation. But notwithstanding, the introduction is they don't back it up with enough information. You are doing such a thing of that magnitude. You should continue enlightening people for 3 months. You continue telling them this is how to do it, this is how to do it. Some people are not taking that Naira, the new note. Why some people are capitalizing on it and they are using when you want to get $1,000, I mean 1,000 naira, they will give you 850 naira, right? Some people cannot even afford to get a dime from their money in the banks, right? Anybody, when you have such money in the bank, like you have $1 million in the bank, before you can collect, before you can connect for the government that say is genuine and sincere about the introduction of new notes, they should have enough money on the ground to exchange for whatever they want to do. Okay, you want cashless society, fine, but let people be informed. So, and you tell them the evil machination of holding their money at homes, right? So you go, you back it up with drama, you back it up with printout, you back it up with every other thing, sort of information. You disseminate information, right? You get the feedback from them. But the way they did it, they just did it to make sure that people suffered a lot. In the last 3 weeks, people have not been, for some political gladiators, they went to election, they were stoned, right? So the house people pent up, the people, they pent up their angers. They vented their angers against the people at the government. So it's wrong. Anything we want to do, let us educate people. So when you carry people, you are introducing a new strategy. Let them be carried along. So you don't do it in isolation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lighter. We are waiting for Demola. I don't know whether it's available. So let me go over to you, Shuko. We understand from what is coming out of the CBN. Okay, I think Demola is back. Demola, are you ready?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So let me go over to Demola then because you are next. So we understand the CBN is now coming out that we can't print more currency because we don't have the papers. We have ordered paper from England, we have ordered from Germany, and it's going to take time for us to take delivery. Does a responsible government do that? If you are withdrawing about 3 billion from the economy, and you only have money to, you only have people to print about, say, 300 billion, which is about 10%, and you know it's not going to be enough. Is that a reasonable? Can somebody who is sane, can you do that as a governor of a central bank?
It still come back to my saying earlier. It now reflects the competency of this governor of central bank. You are withdrawing over 3 billion and 3 trillion from circulation, and relatively you should be at least prepared for at least half of it. But I don't know what projection or what statistics they use, and they only print only less than 400 billion. And according to President Buhari, he also asked them, are they sure that they can do this without recurring to foreign printing of the currency? And he assured the president that they don't need to print this money abroad, that they have enough resources and everything for them to do it before Buhari sanctioned it. So he must have, out of his own poor projection and poor management of the bank, based his analysis on false statistics, because otherwise we would not be in this position. What they are saying that is the problem is that they cannot print more because they don't have the paper. And shouldn't this have been foreseen before the implementation of the policy? To be honest, it's the central bank that failed the government. And I don't know if the policy was purposely designed to fail. you know you have a good intention and you know that it will be acceptable by the general, the masses of Nigeria, but it seems that it's more ulterior motive of the implementation, because then why the haste? Why is the haste in the policy implementation? Why is it within 3 minutes? Nigeria is a country of that use cash a lot. We want to encourage our people to use as much less cash as possible, but it can't be done overnight. It can't be done in a month. It can't be done even in a year or even in a century, because this is attitude, culture that have been built over years, over decades.
Can I, as much as I agree with Mr. Adisa, I think let's be fair, because it looks like the CBN is the main and probably whipping horse in this whole thing. The printing of currency is a responsibility of the Nigerian Printing and Minting Corporation. And by the way, that corporation currently is headed by President Buhari's in-law. That if they are unable to print the amount of currency, that man should be dismissed from that role.
Mr.
So
Lawal.
there is a we can blame the CBN. The CBN does not print money. Printing of money is done by the Nigerian Printing and Minting Corporation. So if there is some kind of a logistics failure in not having the right materials to print the money, the head of the Printing and Minting Corporation should be held accountable. That's the first thing. Secondly, I will say also again, the implementation of this thing has largely not worked the way it should. And I'll give you an example. Terrorists who collect ransom, mainly in cash, there have been videos of them bragging that they have the new currency, the currency that the ransom that they've collected have already been changed. Now, part of this policy is that as people are bringing the old currency, they are not supposed to have everything back. That's part of the strategy. Part of the strategy is that you have some part of it back, but the rest of it should be in your account, in which if you need to still make payments and all that, you can still do electronic transactions. When you have, bandits and terrorists taking that amount of cash for themselves, what's going to happen? It means every other person in society is not going to have the right amount of cash that they need. So again, it is not the CBN that is giving out this money, it's banks. So banks should be equally held responsible. As a matter of fact, there should be some kind of an investigation into actually how banks have disseminated the new currency. Okay. You will find a lot of bank managers have tried to profit from this. So, the CBN is responsible for this policy. I agree largely. A lot of the blame lies with the CBN, but let's not make them only the whipping horse. Okay. There is a lot of blame also to go across bank managers, and particularly the Nigerian Printing and Minting Corporation, who, but as at now, I think the head of that company should have been dismissed from his duties.
Okay. Demola, I will give you time to respond. Let me go to Lighton. Lighton, the question I want to ask you is completely different, okay? Now, we have had insinuation from the way everything looks like. It looked like this policy was directed at just one man. To make sure that one man does not win an election. To make sure that this man who goes about in bullion vans, that he doesn't have access to all this money. So, and it looks like this has now failed because the society has now defeated this attack on only one man, which I think is the presidential candidate of the APC. So, do you think that Emefiele, the central bank governor, who himself contested to be president, tried to contest, but it was unsuccessful, and then he came out with this policy? Do you think he should still be sitting down on that desk in the central bank office? Please unmute.
It's unfortunate in Nigeria. Nobody, sir, for anybody, they don't punish anybody. When you are a government official, you are above the law. When you are like this minority leader in the Nigeria House and the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, this Igbo man, I forgot his name now.
Is it Abaribe?
Abaribe, Senator Abaribe.
Oh.
Right, that the laws are meant for those they have nots. Those people who doesn't have. Where somebody, anybody, any position you are holding is a trust. As you must be trustworthy. If you cannot hold that position, then bow out. And somebody under you, starting from the head, like the Godfrey Chisa said, where the gold is rust, what then can the iron do? The minister of power, I mean, the minister in charge of petroleum, everything is fucking up. The president, you cannot use yourself that, okay, let somebody competent be in charge of the petroleum. So everybody, we are just doing whatever we like in Nigeria. For God's sake, when something like this happen, right? I see no reason why the Senate president should remain there. I mean, I said, sorry, the central bank governor. Central bank governor, what is he doing? You have deputy governors there who you will do the research, who will do everything together. Okay, this policy must not fail. It's a policy somersault. This policy must not fail. What do? We want to implement this thing before you roll it out. And we saw how people are rolling out stuffs in Nigeria. MTN came to Nigeria, he rolled out, he packed it up with everything, no unnecessary things. Econet, the same thing. They never failed. But people at the end of affair, they always fail. And nobody called them to, nobody answer, I mean, nobody, they are not answerable to anybody. That is the problem. When this thing fail like this, it should honorably bow out. I've not seen such in Nigeria. Nobody has ever done that. Why must Emefiele still be there? Emefiele was declared wanted. Right. He ran out of Nigeria. They came back to tell us that Emefiele now came back. He had a soft landing. Through the cabal in the presidency. So all the charges against him, they were withdrawn. Because they know they will make use of him. He was a ready tool.
Okay. Lighter. Thank you. Let me pause you there. Demola, I'm going to please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself first of all, Demola. So I'm going to start from something that Shukwa mentioned, something that is very, very important. And he told us that the head of the minting press is the younger brother of the wife of the president, and that he should be fired. In the first place, should we have somebody as, like close in the family to head such an institution? Should that have been done as well? And the question I want you to answer is, do you think this is the cabal that we were talking about? Last week we talked about the cabal. Are this the cabal, the one who has the minting press and the central bank governor, and possibly the Attorney General of the Federation, who seems to be, going on about backing them? Are these the people who are orchestrating against Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the APC and trying to frustrate his ambition?
To be honest, we've went through the cabal, and it's an open secret in Nigeria that President Muhammadu Buhari is not a nationalist, he's a tribalist. And not only a tribalist, it's also everything is within his family. If you look, every strategic position in Nigeria are not being occupied on merit or on capacity or ability, but they are only being held by relationship to the president. Every strategic position in Nigeria. So I'm not surprised for him to be one of his cousin or nephew or uncle or auntie or brother that is in the meeting corporation. We know it, and everybody is waiting for just this regime to go away, because we never see such a situation like this in any government in Nigeria before. And I would just want us to face this situation now and seize the solution to this cankerworm that they have set up in Nigeria and let it pass. I'm not blaming the central bank alone. The banks are also taking responsibility for what happened. But if they are actually being managed as supposed to be by any central bank in the world, this should not be happening. The minting corporation or whatever, if you are contracting something to a minting corporation, you should be in line. If you have a strategy, you have a monitoring device, you have an organization to make sure that there will be no failure. Mm. So everything still come back to the to the governor of the central bank. Mm. We know that most of these banks that are in Nigeria are owned mostly by all these people that we are saying that they are holding money. Hmm. So I'm not surprised when the banks, you give the money and they're only taking care of their proprietor or director or CEOs who holds the banks, and leave the masses to be fighting and burning killing themselves and losing their dignity and self-esteem. Hmm. So this is what Nigeria, we know what Nigeria is. But if the central bank actually have somebody of its honor that know what he's doing, this should not be happening under your watch if you are not a party to the whole thing. Now, if this is now set against one person or not, I don't buy that as much, because it's not only one person that affect that this money issue will affect not only one politician, it's across all other politicians. Election in Nigeria is not cheap. Even if you don't bribe anybody, give anybody, to even finance the staffers of everything are mostly done in cash. There are a lot of cash transaction that goes under the election. Why is INEC also praying and begging the CBN that they should make cash available for them? Why cannot they transferring all their money electronically?
Okay. Thank you very much, Demola. So, Shukwa, the question I want to ask you something that either yourself or Demola raised before. When Nigerians now go to POS operators and they want to change they want to collect money. So if you want to collect 10,000, you pay 2,000 extra. So you are paying 12,000 to buy 10,000. And this is what is going on. Should the Nigerian government, the security agencies, whatever powers that be, should they just look on and allow this to continue while the Nigerians are being fleeched of their hard-earned currency? Should this continue?
Sad to say, I think government has never really stepped up to its responsibilities in Nigeria. Sorry to say that. I will give you an example of a very comical video I saw. It was a mama put, a woman who makes amala, for people to eat. And, these women, they usually use a very big pot to cook. And on the pot, she wrote her account number. Now, what we are experiencing is logistical failure across several industries and across several areas. If you are pushing people towards a cashless society, you should also be aware that less cash will mean what? Will mean more electronic transaction. So the infrastructure that will support that electronic transaction should have been beefed up to accommodate the new people that will come onto the system. Did that happen? Absolutely not. And these are all activities at the minimum that should have been coordinated, by the Ministry of Finance in conjunction with the CBN, the Printing Corporation, and all of that. So what we had going on, because it wasn't that people weren't able to transfer money. In a lot of scenarios, the network was equally down. And again, what happens when there's a chaos in Nigeria? Nigerians try to profit from other Nigerians' misery. So people that started charging above and beyond what they would normally collect. Why? Because even making electronic transactions became a reality. All of these things should have been properly coordinated. In fact, the infrastructure, banks should have actually been given POS machines and expanding the infrastructure in conjunction with with telecommunications company to make sure that there is sufficient bandwidth to accommodate the new entrants, into the electronic transmission space. That never happened. We have all these agencies headed by people who are paid so much money to do what? Absolutely nothing. There needs to be some form of a look back to see all of these failures and to hold each of these agencies and even private institutions accountable.
Okay.
Nigeria really needs a thinking government that will step up to the plate, that will coordinate the logistical realities across board to make these transitions easy for Nigerians.
Thank you very much, Chupo. Lighton, please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself. Unmute. So now, changing of currency is not something like drinking a cup of tea. I will think that this is a policy that they should have used about 2 years to plan. At least you need about 2 years you want to change currency for 200 million people, currency with security, currency that will last, for many, many other years, So, but when you just wake up one day and, you have a spin in your head and you make a policy, and then you bypass the finance minister, you went straight to the president, and then you started, because the president doesn't know anything about economics, and then you put this in front of the president, and you cajole the president, and you portray it like it's just like, printing it and just taking it, printing and just putting it out there. But we now know what has gone wrong. So, Lighton, what I want to emphasize here, and what I want you to say is, should the president advise us, the Attorney General, the Secretary to the government, the Chief of Staff, should they not have, look at this and say, hey, we can't do this within 1 week. We need about what quality of advice is around the president?
Yeah, I said it earlier on, that where the gold is rust, what then can the iron do? Somebody at the end of affair who is supposed to be fast about the economic development. For God's sake, you put vice president as the head of economic development in Nigeria. Right. You never consulted vice president. You don't consult the economic team. You don't consult the economic guru. You just came up. You went straight to the Mr. President. You said, okay, let us change this thing. These people, they have to sit down, look at the pros and cons. It is only in Nigeria that we always met out punishment for our citizens. The people at the end of affairs, all over the world, they think about how to ameliorate the sufferings of the people. But in Nigeria, its opposite is the case. Right? In America, they gave us stimulus checks for paying our taxes. They gave for a family, they gave us like 3,000 plus. But in Nigeria, we make our people to suffer for their money, even for their own money, before they can collect it, right? So you see the comparative analysis I just made. Okay, where those people, the economic team in Nigeria, they don't have input, right, in the affairs that concerns their purview. What do you want? I mean, what do you expect? For God's sake, no, there's nothing. These people, they have ulterior motive. They have their mission, right, to do what they did. For you want to roll out the policy. You don't back it up with action. The printing and minting, they don't do their work. They don't do their own work. People, the distribution, the logistics, everything. For God's sake, it seems as if they don't know what they are doing. No, okay. Because if they know what their responsibility entails, they should not have done it within 3 months.
Right,
for over 230 million people.
Let me right? You, because of time.
Thank you.
Demola, okay, you are not on me. Okay, so now the Council of States, which consists all the past head of states, all the past Attorney General of the Federation, Supreme Court judges, all the big guys in the land, they've met and they've advised the government, let the old Naira and the new one continue to mingle until that time that the old one will all be sucked in, so that if anybody takes the new Naira to the banks, they will collect it, but they never give out the. If anybody take the old Naira to the banks, they will collect it from them, but they will give them new ones. So the old one will die an automatic death. So then I think the United Nations or some other bodies have also, they say World Bank, they've also advised the government, allow the old Naira to go hand in hand with the new ones. The Supreme Court, in a couple of days ago, also said the same thing. Hold on, do not delegitimize the old Naira. Let people still be using it. But so far, Demola, the federal government have been silent. They have not said anything. And the 10 days has expired, I think, on February 10. So it looks now that there's a silence of the graveyard. Nobody actually know what is going on. Am I able to spend my old Naira? Am I not able to, they go to the bank, there's no money there. Well, should not somebody in this government, take responsibility for this?
In a normal democracy, there will be transparency. An issue of this nature that affect the whole nation should not be done clandestinely. This is something that a policy that we should have be thought over across all departments, all ministries, because it's affecting everybody. This type of thing should not be, because Nigeria is not ruled by democracy or by the rule of law, by the decision of the cabals. These are done discreetly. The Council of States, who are supposed to be advisory and co-partner with the presidency, should have been co-opted and brought into this beforehand. But because things are done personally, because the president is ruling as if he's a king or is the
dictator.
It belongs to his family. It's like a family business. We personalize all these things. The office of the presidency is not for individual. It's an institution. We worship our leaders as if they are gods. And that is why they don't even take cognizance or recognize the opinions or the interests of the common people, because they don't see them as if they are accountable to them. This decision should have been done and across the board, and everything should have been done. in every other part of the world, this old currency, we have to flow along. Yes, there will be certain period of time given for mass deposit exchange, and after that, anybody that don't meet it still goes along, and you can still take it back to the bank, and it will never come back again. But what we have in Nigeria, even at this current period, within the 3 months grace that you say, up to now, they are still giving back the old currency that you brought back to the bank. Why is the old currency still there?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Demola, for lack of time. We're going to close soon. Shukwa, decency. Why should Nigerians be going to bank and be striking themselves naked? I saw one man naked and even showing his toto right on the TV. And why should Nigerians bring themselves down? Because, first of all, I understand people in the rural areas if they are saying that they cannot do transaction. But people in towns, in big towns like Lagos, like Port Harcourt, like Kano, I mean, they can do transactions. We understand that maybe the network failed at some point, but it came back on. So there's a lot of POSs in Nigeria. People who actually do. Do you think that some people are actually behind making sure that this failed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, while I definitely I didn't like a lot of the things that I saw with videos that were shared on social media, people stripping themselves naked and everything. But I think we have to understand how bad this was. On The View, for example, there were reports that sometimes the financial transactions seemed like it went through and then it didn't. But the money is already debited from the person's account, but it didn't arrive in the account. So it was a colossal failure of all magnitude. Now, if you put this together, getting money was a problem. Getting the new notes was a problem. Performing electronic transactions was even more difficult. And then add on top of that, fuel scarcity. I mean, what else? At this time when there is supposed to be an election, how much more can any average citizen take from a government? So for me, this makes me believe that there seems to be a plot to actually cause chaos in the country so that the elections, for whatever reasons, will not hold. It is too many things happening at the same time. No new notes, electronic transactions can't be made, no gas. People can't even get money to gas their vehicles. It's like life, for whatever reason, comes to a halt. And let us be aware, there are lots of Nigerians that actually rely on day-to-day transactions to earn a living, a significant portion of the population. So they can't get money, their own money, they can't make electronic transactions, they can't get fuel. Like, seriously. All of this happened at the same time, to me, is an indication that there is a plot to cause chaos to ensure, for whatever reason, that the elections does not hold.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ashiko. So we come to the end of today's meeting, so I'm just going to round up, but let me start with you, Lighton. Please unmute yourself. Unmute. So, Lighton, what message would you like to pass to Muhammad Buhari? What message will have to pass to him?
My message to President Muhammadu Buhari is: when you are not fast on an issue, you should surround yourself with competent people. Look at Donny Obasanjo; he surrounded himself with the technocrats, people who knows their onion, people who can make things work. You don't surround yourself with your nephew, niece, all these people. who doesn't know all what they want is power, 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 power. And they don't use it for the benefit of the country, but for their own, for themselves. So, with the little time he had, he's going on retirement. Anybody that wants to come back, please, and please, everybody should be accountable, and they should, whatever position they hold, they should be responsible to the people they are their constituents. Thank you very much.
Demola, what is your message to the government of Nigeria?
My message to the government of Nigeria is that I don't think it's a good idea to build a house only to destroy it by yourself. We have been going over, since the eradication of the military rule, we have been striving to make sure that our democracy work, and we build on it over the years to make sure that we reach the promised land. We should not start to demolish that house now by the greed of certain individuals. I believe President Muhammadu Buhari will not want a legacy, his legacy to be the destruction of democracy in Nigeria. The way this is going, if his care is not taken, he will be, its legacy will be the man that destroyed Nigeria democracy.
Thank you very much. So, Shukwa, please unmute yourself. Listen, so, Shukwa, what message would you like to send to the government of Nigeria?
My message, I think, will have been it's a bit late, because what we are seeing is the lack of diversity and the effect of nepotism. When you surround yourselves with people who look like you, who think only like you, and who do things like you.
Yes.
This is what happens. If you have a wide field of people surrounding you, and you are talking to a lot of advisors, you will get a well-rounded perspective based on which you can make decisions. It's probably late for this administration, but I think the incoming administration should take that into consideration.
Thank you very much. So we come to the end of today's deliberation, and I want to thank you all for coming to today's meeting. And my word to all our viewers, next Sunday will be the last Sunday before the election. So we are going to, on the diaspora panel, we are going to tell you next Sunday who we think is going to win this election. We are going to look at all the polls. We are going to look at what's on the ground. And we are going to do an analysis, at least between the 4 leading contenders. And we will tell you who is going to win the next election. So if you have not yet subscribed and are watching this, please push that button now, so that when we do that video, you will be one of the first people to watch that video. So I want to thank you, Mr. Demola Adisa, all the way from United Kingdom. Thank you for coming to this meeting.
It's a pleasure to be there.
And also, Mr. Olalawal, all the way from Canada. Thank you for coming to today's meeting.
Thank you for having me.
And Mr. Olatunde, all the way from United States of America. Thank you for coming to today's meeting.
It's my pleasure to be here. Yes.
Thank you very much. So my name is Lijola here. I'm based in Ireland, and we'll see you again next week. God bless you all.